Good evening, race fans, and as we come to you from the heartland of America, it's Iowa Speedway in the Great Plains, the 7/8 mile short track that thinks it's a super speedway to kick off round 2 of the RealSimRacing.com Icebreaker Winter Series for 2014-2015 right here on LSRTV. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside Evan Pasoko, the broadcast crew for RSR here on LSR. And oh boy, Evan, last week we were on a big, fast speedway-style racetrack in the form of Michigan International that led to an almost four-wide finish. Tonight, I don't think we're going to see four wide at the finish, although we may see them crashing at the finish. This racetrack takes no prisoners. It's hard on equipment, and it beats and bangs. There's no doubt about that. This track's punishing, and it's going to be a long race here in the cornfields tonight at Iowa.
This is also going to be the shortest racetrack that we head to on this 2014-2015 Icebreaker Winter Series campaign. We got a lot of 1.5s as you come to expect. Those are the kind of the standard. Those 1.5 mile intermediate tracks I mentioned. We kicked it off at Michigan, that 2 mile D-shaped oval. So this is the tightest these guys are going to get as far as having to fight for some real estate. It gives these guys with the lower speeds, they're still hustling out there in these B cars, but with these lower speeds, I think you're going to see some people be forced into some positions that's going to make them be a little bit more aggressive. I'd say you'd really have to fight, literally and figuratively as well on the racetrack for position as well, and it's going to be one that you got to live through as well. It's almost like an arcade match, you could call it. 150 laps on the board. It's a lot of racing to get through and keep that nose clean.
Don't say the word fight. We don't need to. We don't need to encourage these guys, Evan. They do enough of that as it is.
We're just predicting. We're making an educated guess on what happens when you go to a track where typically, if there's bent sheet metal, we get some bent feelings at the end of the night. That's just by a trend.
Fair enough. It's one of those. It's going to be interesting, and we are about 3 minutes to the end of qualifying. 12 minutes into this 15-minute open qualifier. E.J. O'Rourke on the provisional pole right now by 1,000th of a second over Jonathan Cadell. So it's the Stroker Aces versus Steel Horse, and how many times have we seen that battle over RSR over the last couple years? A lot. David Comstock third, Dan Murray fourth, so it's basically 2 rows deep of Stroker Aces versus the Steel Boys. It's going to be fun. Brian Macklin, Bobby Terrell inside the top 6, Stefan Marinac, Thomas George subbing for Brennan Mercer tonight in the 29 machine. He'll be our in-race reporter. We'll talk to him here in just a minute or two. William Kempf up there, Ralph Nolan Jr. in the FedEx 95 machine right now, provisionally in the top 10. Jose Gonzalez is back. Scott Simley's back. Evan, some of the RSR staples, even John Higman Jr. in this field tonight. So it's really got the look of a kind of an old-timey almost RSR race here on one of the short tracks, and that could make this really exciting.
Yeah, you're going to have those guys that know each other. You know, they've been out on track and they've spent, just about 32 races with each other. A lot of these guys, just to wrap it up about a month ago with that Full Throttle Cup series. So you do have the staples, as you refer to them, the drivers that are regulars to RSR, but this series as well over the winter off season has given some of the drivers that we don't typically see, week in and week out throughout the main racing portion, as well as, the B series, the Asphalt Assault, as well as that Full Throttle Cup series. A lot of guys in here that we don't really get to see in that. A little bit of new faces. Got Ralph Nolan Jr., Brian Macklin, not a full-time quite yet on that side of things, but he's going to be doing it on this side. You got Wyatt Wolf, Dakota Bowman, so a lot of talent going to be mixed in, and it's going to be interesting to see almost these guys fighting for, some guys trying to get out there and show some respect for each other, try to gain respect from the other drivers, as well as some of the other guys who maybe get to rough the new guys up and let them know that this is their house and they can't really walk in, step on their toes because it's their territory.
Oh, it's a turf war tonight here in Iowa, and that's what this track's known for. It's a lot of bent sheet metal and bent tempers, and that's what we're going to see tonight. Less than a minute to go now in this open qualifier. I don't know that we're going to see anybody topple a 23.160. E.J. O'Rourke actually bettering his 23.186 that he laid down on his last lap by a 23.16, so he actually gives himself a couple of hundredths of breathing room as we come right down to the last 30 seconds or so of this open qualifier. The 94, Bobby Terrell, not able to on his final lap. The 3 of Jose Gonzalez slotted 12th on one more flying lap to try and see if he can't do something here. I think we've about seen what we're going to see. EJ's had a lot of speed in RSR this year. Evan just hasn't been able to close the deal.
We have a lot of drivers that were in that situation. Dan Murray, one that obviously comes to mind, was able to get that win in a Full Throttle Cup Series late in the chase, which allowed him to fight for that championship as well. But the red flag's covered out, so you got to finish this final lap. And everybody inside of the top 5 right now in qualifying were top 6 cars in practice. No surprises there. Dan Murray topped the speed charts in practice with a 23.155 on that one, so only 5 1/1000ths faster, and he had about 3 hours to get that job done. EJ O'Rourke looks like he's going to be able to seal the deal. I don't see Jonathan Cadell on track, who sat second. David Comstock gave it one final go. Nothing going to come from that. It looks like that 23 machine's going to be able to get the job done.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised by that at all. EJ, a very good shoe, Evan, and that car going to be one to watch tonight, as is the Jonathan Cadell machine, the Comstocks of the world. But, you know, a guy like a Brian Macklin, a Dwayne Vincent, Stefan Marinak, these guys, they can make some noise. I would expect to see some interesting things happen tonight. And let's go ahead and take a look at our Gary Mercer Trucking starting grid tonight, because EJ O'Rourke on that point with a 23.160 second lap. He's on the pole. Alongside him, car number 11, it's the Toyota Amsoil machine of Jonathan Cadell.
Then we have that number 20 machine, David Comstock, going to roll from the inside of row number 2. That's going to be P3, and alongside him in 4th, give it to Dan Murray.
5th tonight going to be the 30, Brian Macklin. Alongside him, the Muscle Milk 94. That's Bobby Terrell.
Dwayne Vincent going to get a pickup by 4 spots over his practice speed. He gets a 7th place starting position. Alongside him, Stefan Marinak putting that number 24 car in 8th.
9th tonight going to go to the sub, Thomas George in the 29 for Brennan Mercer. Matt Lacrosse, the 21, who almost squeaked out a win at Michigan. He rounds out the top 10.
Row 6, P11 going to go to the 22 of William Kempf. Alongside him, Jose Gonzalez going to be piloting the 3 car tonight.
And I'll edit what I said. Lacrosse was in contention for a while at Michigan. Going back on through the field, 13th tonight, Ralph Nolan Jr. 14th behind him is the number 6 machine. That's Ronnie Potts.
Scott Simley going to roll to number 4, Ford off of P15. 16th position, going to go to the 31. That's Mike Montesi.
17th tonight, going to go to one of the Rue Motorsports entries, Garrett Atwell. 18th to the 43 of Doug Roth. And row number 10, going to find Brian Harvey in the 67 and the 48. That's Kevin Linden.
John Higman Jr. starting just outside the top 20. P21 for the number 60 machine. Alongside him, L. Bryce Whitson Jr. trying to recover from a rough opening race at Michigan. Wyatt Wolf going to roll off in 23rd, and 24th is Scott Saunders.
25th tonight, the 77, Sherry Ann Mills. 26th going to be Dakota Bowman. The teammates on row 13, Josh Morgan, the final car to take time, 27th, and 3 cars in on provisionals tonight. That's John Wilco, Stephen Herring, Doug Manning, a 30-car field tonight, kicking off round 2 of the Icebreaker Winter Series here from the cornfields of Iowa Speedway, Newton, Iowa. The 7/8 of a mile kind of bowl-shaped oval, the short track that races like a super speedway. So as we get set to go, it means a lot to win early. This series only 8 races long, and that means you want to get all you can get. And we're glad you're here with us on LSRTV because these guys are going to be trying to get all that they can get tonight, Evan. One more pace lap before we go green flag racing, and one of these things where anything can happen. Is there any way to predict what we're going to expect tonight?
No. Michigan had a lot more room, and we said that that could definitely be one of the races that can have long green flag runs. There's a lot of space for people to work with. Not so much here. I think with the amount of cars, we do have a really good turn of this one. You said 30 cars scheduled to take the drop at a green flag as we cycle out of quarter number 2. It'll be an interesting one for sure. I can guarantee you that you're not going to see somebody be able to really just stay up front and dominate the whole race. I feel like this race is going to take a lot of attrition, cycling back in the field, getting back up through, and fighting through some adversity if you want to be the guy that sits on the top when it's all said and done.
Oh, it's going to be adversity, and E.J. O'Rourke and Jonathan Cadell on that front row, they're hoping to be the guys that can get away from the adversity in a hurry. The cornfields are going to give us some help here tonight on the opening. It's the American Ethanol green flag flying in the air as E.J. O'Rourke takes the top spot. We kick this off from Iowa Speedway, and we're green flag racing. Here in the heartland of America, David Comstock to the inside of Jonathan Cadell. That's the first side-by-side battle for P2. They're side-by-side for P4 behind them. That's Brian Macklin alongside Dan Murray.
The advantage was going in Cadell's favor there, and he actually just nicked the wall. Down the back straightaway, the 20 really pushed up off two. Better exit that time by for Comstock. We stayed deadlocked door to door. That battle raging on for P2. Again, there is progressive banking here. 12 on the bottom, 14 up high, so helps that outside lane up a little bit. But you see the 20 really pushing high. Still on each other's doors. Advantage slightly to Cadell. Comstock throws it in again.
3 wide.
55, 3 wide. Not going to work. He plants it in the fence. It's Dan Murray.
Hard hit by Dan Murray in the 55. He's going to lose 4, 5, 6 spots. Yikes! Caution flag flies, and they're stacking it all up.
29 car is going to be the one that's sent around. Thomas J. George, the National Guard entry, gets sent around, and it was right behind where Dan Murray eventually, Jacob, was able to get that thing off the fence. Caused a big checkup, and the 22 machine just sitting right on that left quarter panel. Replay going up now. You can see it just clipped Thomas J. George. He got sent around, and one machine tried to go down to the that access lane, I guess we'll call it, to avoid it. That's L. Bryce Whitson Jr. and nearly steered right into it. Nobody else involved, no damage. It appears on that number 29 car, but that's going to slide Thomas J. George all the way to the back of this still about 30 car strong field after starting in the top 10 spot.
Yeah, and that's not what we want to see, Evan, here this early in the race, and it's going to slow the field around lap 3. I thought we might get a little bit further than that, but apparently not. And as you said, the attrition just beginning, though. Thomas, very lucky to not hit anything right there.
Yeah, there is a quite a large, I guess we'll call it, that front straightaway grass area as well. There's a paved portion just down below, or rather just before you hit to that inside pit road wall. So there's a little bit of a buffer on that one. Was able to lock it up. There was nobody else diving down low on him. Again, nobody else involved in that one. But it's going to send him all the way to the back, Jacob. And I guess it'll be our first opportunity. You got him queued up on the radio.
Yeah, let's go to the in-car radio right here. Thomas, not the way you wanted to start this race, going around. No damage, it looked like, to your machine. Just a product of hard racing here in the early going?
I'm not going to say hard racing. I'm going to say somebody got in the wall and checked the salt up, but it's whatever.
How hurt is the car? I know you went through the grass. It didn't look like anything major. You guys going to be able to get it back competitive here for the rest of this one?
Oh yeah, there's no damage on it, just cosmetic. Just gotta... Our job is already going to be tough, considering how equal it looked like the times were in the practice chart and qualifying charts, so now we're just going to have to work our way back up front. And unfortunately here, passing is not easy to do.
We'll let you get back to it, getting ready to come 1 to go here in another lap or 2, but good luck the rest of the way, and we'll queue back up, talk to you a little bit later.
10-4.
All right, Evan, he's obviously frustrated here in the opening laps. How do you combat that to get back in a state of mind to where you can go dig, do what you need to do, and get back in contention?
It's hard, and you got to really tell yourself, you got to keep your head screwed on straight, but there's obviously the frustration to it because, again, these guys have been working in on these sets as well, and in the practice session, you really had to work on knocking off a good qualifying time as well. Was a top 10 car this racetrack because it is smaller. There's a lot more traffic. Not easy to make passes, as he stated, and now if instead of being P9, he's going to be way back, at least outside the top 20. I know a couple other people came down pit road, so not quite all the way to the back, but it's looking like it's going to be about P28 right now, and I mean, if there's any positive out of it, he's still got over 140 laps to make it back up, but it is a lot of track position. You may force him to be able to make some sort of a pit strategy call if he wants to get a big chunk of it at once. It'll force him to play some cards here to see if he can get the job done.
Yeah, Will, 150 laps, a lot of time to do. We got 143 to go, and we're getting set to go back green flag racing, and they'll restack up like this. E.J. O'Rourke and Jonathan Cadell on the front row, exactly like they started this race. David Comstock and Brian Macklin now on row number 2. The FedEx machine up to P4. Bobby Terrell's in the mix in 5th. Dwayne Vincent up there in the Napa machine. Last week's winner up to 6th. Stefan Marinac 7th. Dan Murray, Matt Lacrosse, and Jose Gonzalez, we normally call him the Meatball Mobile, up in the top 10 now, as we're going to just have 7 laps complete when we come back to Green Flag Racing here at one of the bull rings of the Icebreaker Winter Series. And that iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car is going to bring him to turn number 4 and want to get the heck out of the way. Hard left turn to pit road, and we're going back racing. The American Ethanol green flag flies again, and EJ O'Rourke's on the gun this time. Comstock getting a great run, and it looks like the outside lane's all stacked up. They're not going anywhere into turn 1, and Comstock's through looking for the lead.
We got 3 wide back, just outside at the top 10. P11 was Ralph Nolan Jr. He got split through the gap as it was the 4 car going high. The 19 was on the bottom. That's Garrett Atwell. And a big winner in that mix is going to be Scott Sibley. Meanwhile, in front of them, battling inside the top 10, trying to work the bottom lane is Matt Lacrosse. Right now to the inside on Stefan Marinac. That battle going on for P8. 3 car slide time just behind them. Jose Gonzalez opens up the door to more 3 wide. All of this going on at the tail end of the top 10.
Yeah, and it's at the tail end of the top 10. I think we used the word Hornet's Nest about 5 or 6 times last Monday night. We'll probably use it about 8 or 9 times more here tonight. And as we watch them side by side back around Atwell, Ralph Nolan Jr., John Higman, I want to take the opportunity to bring back one of our RSR staples, and this time I guess he's a staple in the broadcast booth with us for the 2nd week in a row. Eric Brundy's the Full Throttle Cup Series champion, back with us now here from Iowa Speedway. And Eric, I know we talked about it last week. You're not racing in the Icebreaker Series. You're taking a well-deserved break with your trophy, but you go from 4 wide to 4 wide, just on 2 completely different levels here. You had a lot of room to race, and here you're beating and banging for that space. How tough is it going to be on these guys tonight compared to what it was last Monday?
I think it's really tough. In my opinion, Iowa's one of the most challenging tracks, one of the most challenging open tracks. So it's going to be interesting, and it's actually my home track, so I want to come up here and see what I do. Kind of chill and watch a great race.
It's been good so far, and Evan, I'm watching a battle right now, about to be a battle for 5th. The Napa 9, Dwayne Vincent coming up on Bobby Terrell, and we saw those 2 battle it out last week at Michigan for the victory. And now they're up inside the top half dozen or so, and these 2 trying to put on another wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side duel here in the opening laps of this one. And you know, both of them cars that can very easily be in contention at the end of this one. But right now, EJ O'Rourke just looks so good out front.
We got one of our big movers here just outside of the top 10, but it has been 10 positions gained by the driver of the number 49 machine. That is Scott Saunders. Started back P24, actually was P24 as well in the practice session. Right now up to 14th position, was just able to get around the 95 of Ralph Nolan Jr., who's actually sliding backwards. Both the 6 machine of Ronnie Ponce as well as the 43 of Doug Roth have made a pass on that 95 in the last lap or so. So Ralph Nolan Jr. sliding back about 4 spots from where he started so far, but lost 2-3 of them in that last 2-lap exchange. So 95 going the wrong direction. The next car he'll have to hold off that 00 of L. Bryce Whitson Jr., who has to move rather erratically to the outside lane. Matt Lacrosse as well. Jacob, another guy that we've seen working the bottom on the restarts, found himself up high that last time through. He allows Jose Gonzalez to take P10 from him for the time being. Not going to give it up though. Challenges again in 1 and 2.
Yeah, and while he's challenging, there's another guy trying to work the bottom, and that's the 30. That's Brian Macklin working the inside lane. He shifted to the outside there in 3 and 4, but Bobby Terrell, trying everything they can to get around that 11 of Jonathan Cadell right now. But that 30 machine looked very good on the bottom the last time by. Almost had Cadell cleared and just lost a little bit going into turn number 3 on the entry. Gave it back up, but that 30 machine, you mentioned it. Here he digs to the inside one more time. Macklin, not a regular yet with RSR, but he is digging right now, and almost a little contact there when they came off turn 4. Moved the FedEx machine up a position as the caution comes out.
Trouble on the front straightaway with a couple of them around. The 43, Doug Roth, the 22 of William Kempf is turned around backwards, and That machine showing some front-end damage would lead us to believe that the 22 car is going to be the cause of the caution, and they're around for completely unrelated incidents. Doug Broad, I believe, is actually going to bring out the yellow from a self-spin, coming off a quarter number 4. He split it around backwards, was on the racing surface when that happened, so that's what triggered the caution flag. And at the exact same time, Jacob, the 22 car, lost it, and he spun that thing around and actually was able to pull it away, working a little bit of minor front-end damage from what must have been a prior incident, but two identical spins. We got, some synchronized spinning going on at a 4. One of those brought out the yellow, and we're going to slow him back down. Looks like pit stops may be coming up.
I thought synchronized spinning only happened at Kansas, Evan. Ron Hornaday, Johnny Sauter from 2011, I think it was.
Kansas seems to be an interesting track, whatever series you put out there when it comes to the wrecks.
This is true. Leaders are in. E.J. O'Rourke, David Comstock, the teammates, leading the entire freight train all the way down this long Iowa Speedway pit road, and O'Rourke going to bring it down to that number 1 pit stall. He's got the longest journey of anybody. Evan, pit stop's underway. Let's take it down to the head of pit road. Cover the leader.
That 20 machine was pushing E.J. O'Rourke down, but again, he does have the benefit of that number 1 pit stall. Good entry into his stall, and this is going to be the point in time where you got to look. Do we see anybody back at the back pull the tire strategy call? What do our leaders do? Right side's up, down. Crew going over to the left side, going to be a 4-tire stop, fuel and go for the 23 of E.J. O'Rourke. Doesn't look like any challenges with 2 tires. He'll lead them off, and second going to be that 20 car.
Yeah, the top 3 are going to come away exactly like they came in. They were about 3 wide for 4th behind them. I'm not sure. I thought maybe the 94 of Terrell had it, but I could be mistaken on that. We'll wait for to see exactly what the sim says here when they come back and through on score, and I believe it is Terrell, the 94, taking over P4, and it looks like Jonathan Cadell lost a spot or 2 on that exchange, came in battling for 3rd, and he'll now, Evan, restart from that 5th spot. Actually, check that, going to be scored 6th right now. The 59, Dakota Bowman, stays out to lead a lap here under caution with 20 complete.
The 22 of William Kemp, who we saw spin at a 4 as well, came down pit road and did not go into his stall, drove all the way through. That's why we saw him right up next to Bobby Terrell on the exit. He has since cycled back down since the field rounded at a 4. He's getting his 4 tires in service and some damage repairs as well as he sits into his stall, looking like he's gotten a little bit of front and a rear end damage. So that's going to cycle him back to the tail end of the lead lap, but that 59 car stayed out to lead that lap, get that bonus point, and down on the apron this time through. Do anticipate that 59 to bring it down, which would again put E.J. O'Rourke back at the number 1 spot, and it never hurts to have that number 1 pit stall, and you saw it there because he was able to have such a large gap over Comstock when they exited, and that 59 does duck down, so O'Rourke going to go back to P1.
And the big winner on pit stops, 13.6, a lightning effort for the 94 of Bobby Terrell, moves him up to what's going to be position number 4 for the American Ethanol Green Flag restart. The Muscle Milk entry showing some muscle right now because that machine, boy, he's lightning quick on the racetrack, Evan, but his crew was lightning quick just then on the pit lane. They were very, very sporty and picked him up 2 spots.
This is the point in the race that I was actually surprised that we didn't see anybody throw any kind of strategy in there, and not like a 2-tire call on that stop would be logical or would make sense, but it hasn't stopped people in the past, but pretty uniform on the 4-tire stops here, so everybody going to be back on even ground for this one.
It is even ground, and it's going to be coming to an American Ethanol Green Flag restart as E.J. O'Rourke, Comstock, Macklin, and Terrell. The front 4, green flag back in the air. To the bottom goes the 23, brings now the 30. A Brian Macklin along for the ride. Comstock trying to hold it. Macklin's nearly around.
He's able to hang on. He's on the apron.
Wow.
Around him. Nobody else going to be able to get caught up with that. In the 30 going all the way back to at least 16th position as he slots in line behind Jose Gonzalez. Meanwhile, challenge for the lead, Comstock. Sugano to the inside through 4. Can't get the job done. Pulls back in line for the moment. It's half a car length.
And how about the battle for 3rd? Dan Murray coming to the inside of the 94 of Bobby Terrell. Terrell was the big winner on that one. Picked up from 5th to 3rd when all that exchange happened. And
Oh, we nearly had a wreck
Wow.
in one, Jacob. Contact, the 19, Garrett Atwell, just got all over the back end of that 4 car. Scott Simley nearly sent him around, immediately came over the radio and was not saying he expected him to check out. Now we got more trouble.
Caution flag flies once again, and they're stacking it up. We can't go more than 3 laps. Green flag,
Matt
Evan.
Lacrosse.
Yeah, Lacrosse, the 21, in trouble, and that was almost at the back of the pack. So we've seen it up front, we've seen it in the middle, we've seen it out back. You're just not safe here at Iowa.
Well, we can officially dub quarter number 4 Calamity Corner because that's a self-spin on behalf of Matt Lacrosse that's going to bring out that caution flag. But I want to talk again about that incident that we saw in the corner because it's caused quite some significant damage to some of our leaders. This happened on lap 24 into 1. Garrett Atwell just got into the back of the 4. I believe that 4 was taking a little cautious because Marinac was just in front of him. And again, Atwell immediately over the radio apologizing, wasn't expecting that checkup that soon. And the 4 was about 45 degrees sideways, Jacob. Saved it, pointed it back the right direction. They were 3 wide behind him, and somehow they didn't wreck in that one. It is the self spring that brings out the yellow, but a heck of a save from that 45-degree angle there in the corner by that 4 to keep it pointed the right direction.
Well, what about the 30 of Brian Macklin? I mean, he was more than 45 degrees sideways all the way through turns 1 and 2, Evan, and saved that.
I'm not sure if it's a technical thing. Does the progressive banking help these guys save it? Because, I mean, when they're self-spinning, they're spinning out of 4, and then when they're, getting knocked out of the way, they're able to hang on to it.
Eric, what's the deal with this Iowa Speedway? I thought we were watching a 150-lap race, not a drifting party.
Oh yeah, man, it's challenging. Both corners are different from each other, and it's just you gotta stay on your toes and not make mistakes, and just be careful around other cars because there's multi-grooves. So
it's been wild so far. We're not even a fifth of the way through this deal. 26, going to be 27 complete when they come back to the start-finish line. And E.J. O'Rourke and David Comstock, the front row, when they line back up for the restart, exactly like they've been all night long, Evan. But how about the 94 of Bobby Terrell, putting himself in position just like he always seems to do. Up there now in that 3rd spot. He's done a very nice job so far tonight, and he's going to have the preferred lane when we go back green as well. That's going to be a huge advantage for that 94.
Yeah, definitely not a surprise to see that number 94 of Bobby Terrell making moves early in this race. Still a strong car, qualified in 6th spot, and he's up to a top 3 position right now, and so far it appears that inside of that 2nd row has been getting a better jump than the outside P2, which is going to be alongside the right hand of our leader on these. So Bobby Terrell could possibly use that to his advantage, try to get to the inside of Comstock and maybe work his way through to 2nd, possibly challenge for the lead, because I felt like that 23 and the 20 pretty evenly matched there when Comstock took a peek to the inside about 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times at least in the corners. Didn't really come to fruition, almost got a nose in there a couple times, but he was definitely putting up a fight for it. Only got about 2 laps before we slowed him back down again. So I feel like Bobby Terrell, if he's able to make up spots like he has and made it look relatively easy on guys like Dan Murray and Jonathan Cadell, that the 94 car could be a fair challenge here for O'Rourke up top.
Well, when is Bobby Terrell not a fair challenge in RSR competition? He's like Ed Cole, except he doesn't win quite as much as Chad does.
And he loves this B car as well. He's really good in the Asphalt Assault Series, back-to-back 2nd in the championship standings, and we know that that's also going to give him a little bit more added determination to try to win this one when it's all said and done after 8 races. So a very short season as well. You really want to get a bunch of solid finishes and get it kicked off because you can't really afford a lot of mistakes.
No, that you cannot. It's a short season, and that means every point, every position, every race is crucial. 29 laps going up on the board when we go back green flag racing, and it is going to be that iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car heading for the safety of pit road. Well, I thought we were going back green this time by. I guess we'll wait one more and get everybody cycled back through. And Evan, I guess we have a chance to breathe again. And I'm looking a little bit back further through this field. And how about one of the guys who's picked up a lot of spots already? You mentioned him. I'll mention him again. plus 13. He's more than halfway through where he started. That's the Rue Motorsports entry, the 49, Scott Saunders. He's been on a rail so far tonight.
Yeah, he's been able to pick up a solid amount of spots. Keep an eye on him as this race continues to work on. There's a lot of other guys that have been cycled to the back earlier in this race that we're going to have to see and kind of follow their progress. We also got guys like Jose Gonzalez just outside the top 10 as well to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we do. So we'll try and redux this. Take 2 into turns 3 and 4 here at Iowa, and maybe this time the iRacing Ford First Mustang will make that hard left turn to pit road as we work off turn number 4. It will do just that. Put the field in the hands of E.J. O'Rourke. American Ethanol Green flies once again, and this time not nearly as good a start for the 23. Comstock was right there. They'll try to drag race him to turn 1, and it's side by side for the lead.
Putting up a fight for it, 20 car slotting high on exit advantage definitely goes in favor of E.J. O'Rourke on the bottom. 20 tries to battle back, coming into quarter number 3, but a car and a fence down to back straightaway. Doug Manny, no caution, keeps it straight, and now that 20 has a great run through 3 and 4, Comstock pulls right alongside him. Now more trouble right behind him.
And caution flag flies as well with
Scott
that.
Saunders.
Saunders, yeah.
The jinx.
Oh, that's...
Come on, Jacob.
I know. They always say it's my fault. The 49 machine, we had just said how good a run he's been having, up 13, and now hard contact and trouble for that 49.
And he's got heavy black smoke as well pouring from the back of that machine. You're tanking. Look at the replay of it. It was a self-spin. It was a good job by that 30 right behind him. Definitely Brian Macklin should have been in the back end of that car and made a great evasive maneuver, rather, to the high side to not be involved in that. But the 49 went around. Not the first time, to say the least. We've seen a car have a self-spin in quarter number 4. He goes around, and then evidently that heavy black smoke pouring from the back of that engine. A victim, obviously, of spinning around and just got clipped by one car that was a little bit too low. Otherwise, I think he would have been fine. And he just got nicked by John Wilco, and I do believe he may have actually just lost that engine on his way down pit road. He's in for repairs. We'll have to see the outcome of that, but not looking good. That close to getting off away with it, and you know, his biggest issue would have been trying to get back through traffic, and just again gets clipped by one car, and that much damage right on the front end of that car.
Tough break for that 49 machine, and puts us under caution once again here with 33 laps complete, and gives us an opportunity to take our first caution flag of the evening here from Iowa Speedway. David Comstock, the leader over E.J. O'Rourke, Bobby Terrell, Dan Murray, and Jonathan Cadell at Iowa. Stay with us. Getting ready to go back. Green flag in the air as we are back underway here at Iowa Speedway. David Comstock to the lead. E.J. O'Rourke falls in second. Great start by the 20 of Comstock. Gets away. Bobby Terrell, Dan Murray, they're side by side for third, but the two leaders 5 car lengths in hand down the back.
And they're 2 wide, 2 rows deep, right around that P3. Dan Murray
3 wide, maybe?
Side, a small pick to the low, goes at 11. Jonathan Cadell, he thought about it, took a look, nothing. Of Dakota Bowman make it back to back to back to back self spins at a quarter number 4. 59 is the one that lost it, and that's why we're back under yellow.
So Dakota Bowman, the RSR Breaker Series rookie round, and
back to the gas, wasn't really being too aggressive in the quarter. He was pretty deep in the pack, just kind of minding his own business, and I mean, just snapped around on him.
Black ice. 78 degrees. Okay, Evan, I know you're from Canada, but come on now, physics. Eric, I guess I'll turn to you on that one as they fake E.J. O'Rourke down pit road. Oh my. I guess I'll go to Eric in a second, Evan. I was not expecting to look up and see that. Hello, strategy.
And the 20 made it look like he was going to, and O'Rourke just ran at a time. I think he wanted to jump back out, but he was kind of sticking a nose out to the left side of Comstock. You see, he made a movement, and I think if he went for it, he would have taken out some of those sand barrels. So he's kind of been forced into the spot. Might as well take tires, but that's one of the things that you worry about as a leader. Do I come in and everybody else stays out? Do I stay out, everybody else comes in? It was Comstock in P1, but he put the move on that number 23 of O'Rourke. Everybody else was caught onto it, and the 23 going to get the short end of the straw on that. Going to slide him back to just around P20. We do have quite a few cars from about 19th on back did cycle down for service, so not going to go all the way to the back, but we'll lose some substantial time.
Let's go back to the in-car radio, pick up our Gary Mercer Trucking in-race reporter, Thomas George, who was just playing taps, apparently, for the 23 of E.J. O'Rourke there. Thomas, trying to fight your way back through the field in that 29 machine. It's been a little bit of tough sledding so far, but it's been a little bit of a bizarre race, too. I had a lap or 2 runs before those yellow flags keep flying. How tough is it out there when you can't string a little bit of a run together to go anywhere?
It's not. It's going to be tough even if we do get a string here. That's one of the things causing a lot of these cautions is just everybody's trying to fight for different grooves, or they're not necessarily this groove. It's coming off of turn 4 seems to be a lot of the issues, and just braking points are very different for everybody. And I think everybody here has to calm down a little bit, you know, because I understand short track racing, but you can't run multiple grooves here. If everybody just give a little bit of give and take, we can be able to do something with this. But considering where we were about 20 laps ago and avoiding Scott Simley getting almost wrecked there, I mean, I'm pretty happy where we got back to already, and we still got over 100 laps to go here.
Yeah, here, I'll clarify for all those fans of yours out there. You were 28th when you spun through the grass on that very opening 3rd or 4th lap caution. Now 4 cautions later, you're back up to P6, the outside of row number 3 for this upcoming restart. So you've sliced your way forward pretty nicely already. Is there any, are you seeing anything on that outside lane? I mean, we saw David Comstock use it for a couple laps on some of these runs to hang with and actually to get the lead at one point. Is there anything on that outside groove that can help you right now, or is everybody going to have to be bottom feeding here?
Nah, for the early couple laps, you're going to see a lot of people using both grooves since this track has that characteristic of progressive banking, but as the fuel wears off and the tires go down, everybody's going to probably be moving up to that high side sooner or later, and I tend to make use of that anyway. I rarely go to the bottom here as it is anyway, so there's definitely something on the outside as it always has been, at least during this tenure at Iowa. But for the first couple laps, you're going to see a different couple of grooves, and then as the run goes along, you'll see it thin out to a single groove on the outside, I think.
Yeah, I think our definition of you here is high, wide, and handsome. We'll let you get back to it. We'll see you probably somewhere along the lines of the second half of this race. Still got a long way to go.
Let me get a long run in here.
All right, Evan, getting ready to come back to a restart. Comstock and Murray. It's the first time we've not seen the 23 of E.J. O'Rourke on the front row all night long, and the first time we've seen the 55 of Dan Murray up there. So this American Ethanol green flag restart going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, that 55 is going to be up high. Comstock has the advantage of being the control car. He's going to be on the bottom. Pace car dives away to the safety of pit road. Terrell going to be in third as well. Green flag, the air back underway. Small challenge going to be for P2. Bobby Terrell trying to keep a nose in on the 55. He'll make it a 2-wide battle down in 1 and 2.
The Napa machine, Dwayne Vincent trying to cut down to that bottom lane. Nearly contact with the 11 of Jonathan Cadell. He's there, but we stay green for the moment, and the advantage to the outside lane is going to be for the 55, 29 of George trying to make a move up top. 3 wide off turn 4.
Big trouble down with the 97. Joshua Morgan got loose on the bottom, stepped it up the hill, over the nose of the 4 car, into the 96, into the 21. Hung on to it down to the apron. That was at a 2 down the back straightaway. No caution. He has a lot of damage. A couple of those guys that he got into have a lot of damage, but we do stay green. Top 3 now single file. They were just battling for 4th. Give it to Bobby Terrell. He'll clear Dwayne Vincent, and now Jonathan Cadell, who just got around Brian Macklin, wants to challenge to the bottom as well.
And you want, there we go, big crash, caution flag flies. We're back under yellow, Evan, coming to the 1/3 point here, and we're wadding them up one more time. 6th yellow flag already.
Yeah, the 4 of Scott Simon going to get caught up in this, but this started well in front of him. We had a couple of guys drifting up to the outside retaining wall. Ronnie Potts tried to shoot a 3-wide gap and essentially just drove it in there too hard and absolutely ran over the number 3 of Jose Gonzalez. They both got sideways into the fence. The 22 right behind them started spinning out in the oil. That is William Kemp's machine, and they slid down the racetrack. The 21 split the gap, and then the 4 car, I didn't know we instituted oil on iRacing, because then the 4 car just starts spinning out behind him. He gets hit by the 60 machine. Those 2 cars, collateral damage in the initial incident, and back under yellow we go. After essentially 2 big incidents on that last stint, this most recent one brought out the yellow. The last one that involved about 4 cars that we mentioned, everybody was able to hang on. Nothing came from that. But when things get ugly, they get ugly quick. And first car down pit road is going to be from P10. That's Jose Gonzalez. Got to get that thing fixed back up.
I was going to say, not surprising that Gonzalez is down pit road, but right now under caution with 48 laps complete, working lap number 49, so basically to the 1/3 distance point of this race. Comstock, Murray, and how about the move on the restart, Evan, by Thomas George on the high lane? He went from 6th to 3rd right there as he saw Dan Murray almost get the race lead, but that 29 machine's on a rail and coming to the front.
And we know that the outside, you're able to make it work on those first few laps, especially challenging hard with the inside. We saw the great battle that we had right at the top of the race here with a couple of our leaders in second place as well, going leaning right on each other's doors for those first few laps, and really no advantage to anybody. So we were able to roll through that throttle off the quarter, getting that run up high. He was able to take advantage to it. He's going to be down on the bottom, though, so if he wants to be able to challenge for the top spot that's held by Comstock, going to have to get a nose on Dan Murray, which means being up on your toes on that restart, following Comstock through, and then he'll have to get clear of that 55 before he can slide back up to the lane that he prefers. Continuing to work under our caution flag right here again, just 1/3 of the way through this race. I want to bring Eric Brundies back into the discussion. Eric, when you have a race like this that has a lot of cautions to really get things kicked off, and these drivers know coming into Iowa, it's going to be one of those races that will tend to have a few more yellows than, say, when we go racing at the track like Michigan 1 week ago. Does it kind of mess with any sort of strategy that you tried to play? How do you adjust, and how does your strategy adapt to a race that is, has a fair amount of cautions, especially in these opening stints?
Well, obviously it changes a lot. When there's a lot of yellows, you can kind of get away on older tires, perhaps a bit more because you can, the green run to wear them out. So that's yeah.
How would these guys be able to, and I know we've seen a lot of the incidents, almost half of them at least, actually coming from south spins come out of quarter number 4, which seems to be very treacherous tonight. But these incidents, like we're seeing guys going 2-3 wide, sliding up into each other, and these cars just stamping them up the hill. What can these guys really do differently at this kind of a racetrack to avoid that, but, you know, not just being rolling over for each other and letting each other go by and still trying to be relatively competitive? Is there any way that they can maybe approach this a little bit differently while still being competitive to try to avoid these yellows?
Actually, this is probably the hardest track to do that at. There's just not a lot of room out there, but at the same time, it's a multi-group track, so you got a lot of taking, not a whole lot of giving, and a lot of these guys are they want to win, so do what you got to do, and unfortunately, a lot of times there ends up being a lot of yellows.
Lights still remain on top of the pace car as we work right now. Should be the one to go this next time by. If the lights do go off, that's going to make us set for a lap 53 restart as they do. Going to give you an update on where everybody sits inside of the top 10. Comstock and Dan Murray, we've talked about them for the majority of this race. They've been up front for the length so far, again just past the 1/3 mark in this race. Thomas J. George up right now, P3. Bobby Terrell is in 4th spot. Dwayne Vincent rounds out our top 5 right now. Jonathan Cadell, Brian Macklin make up 6th and 7th position. All of those guys that sit right now in the top 7 qualified top 10 on track. Then we got our movers so far. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., the hard charger, started back in 22nd. He's up to 8th. Garrett Atwell, who started 17th, been in a couple of fender beating and banging a little bit earlier on. He's up to 9th. And Ralph Nolan Jr. rounds out our top 10 as they work right now. But we are doubling up, lights off and pace car. Getting set for a restart as the field cycles through quarters number 3 and 4.
Yeah, here we go. Pace car's off, and we're set to go green. David Comstock, nice jump by the Monster Energy Chevrolet as we are back underway. Keeping an eye on Dan Murray, but he's 5 car lengths back almost of the 20 of Comstock. He got a big jump, and it's Thomas George. The inside, that's the back.
Yeah,
for second. Behind them, Jonathan Cadell tried to stick it up the...
Yeah, that 29, he wasn't able to get to the inside of Dan Murray initially. Drove it real good through the center of 1 and 2, and then was able to get on side by side. Now he slides back in line, and as soon as he gives it up, Bobby Terrell to the bottom. They're going to go at it. That's Zor side by side for 3rd at the 11 of Jonathan Cadell. Had about 2 opportunities to make it 3 wide if he wanted to. Stayed patient. He rides on the high side behind the 29. That opens up the door for the 30 of Brian Macklin. Took a look to the inside on him as well. Give the 3rd spot now to Thomas J. George. They battle it out for 4th as Cadell making that outside lane work. It's forcing Bobby Terrell to go all the way down to that yellow line in the corner, and he is going to lose that spot. The outside prevails, and the 11 car is now going to roll up to P4. Macklin nearly got into the right rear as Bobby Terrell tries to slot it.
Yeah, he did.
He'll do so off the corner.
Yeah, that was close. And back behind them, Bryce Whitson Jr., Matt Lacrosse, 0021. They were just going at it a minute ago. Now the 30 of Macklin just ahead of them. Boops to the inside of the 94 for Bobby Terrell. That is side by side for the 5th position.
And that 30 car is going to slot back in line, so that challenge settles down for a moment. Now right back on the attack to the bottom off the quarter. 94 catches the fence, steps down a little bit. 30 car has to correct for that, as they could have both ended up in a fence very easily, and everybody able to keep going from there. 30 is clear. Could he get a spot? No, because Terrell will slide back up to the outside lane where that 11 machine is charging a path through. That is Jonathan Cadell just in front of them in 4th spot. The 30, though, digging on the bottom, wants to slide up in front. He'll get it after Terrell had trouble going down through quarter number 1. He slides back a little bit, so that 30 machine's able to maintain that top 5 running spot. Dwayne Vincent trying to get back up through the field, sliding way high off the quarter. Not the first time we've seen Terrell and Vincent being battling at it side by side in these B cars. The 94 is going to get that spot. 9 car trying to work on the inside lane is going to be able to slot back in line at the moment. And Eric, we saw on those initial restarts the leader working the bottom. Now these guys start to slide up high. Looks like they're preferring that 14 degrees of banking over riding on that yellow line.
Yeah, the nice thing is the high line can work really well here to maintain position or even to make passes on. So the nice thing about it, but unfortunately it also leads to some trouble too.
And we've seen a lot of 2-wide, a lot of 3-wide opportunities as well. Going on board with the driver of the number 9 car, Dwayne Vincent, has a lot of action going on in his windscreen. He's got the 94 ring in front of him. Bobby Terrell, who he had just taken a temporary peek to the inside on. Now trouble, caution flag and fly happening just behind these guys. One car in the fence. No, Dakota Bowman is slow on the apron. That one going to be another self-spin on the hands of the number 59. That thing broke sideways after I believe he was slowing down for what he saw as trouble in front of him. Stephen Herring involved in this one. It looks like actually it starts with that 77 of Sherry Ann Mills. She had an assistant going around. She was headed down at a 3. This happening back on lap 60. Was battling side by side with 6 Ronnie Potts, and may have appeared that she got on the brakes a little bit early to try to tuck back in line behind that number 6 machine into that 3 car who was closing in fast behind her, being Jose Gonzalez. Jose was a top 20 car, top 15 earlier on in this race. Got slid back a little bit after some incidents, trying to get back up to the field. We're taking a look at it now, was really digging and just got into the back of that 77 machine. She got sideways at 31 on the bottom. Did a really good job of keeping off of her for the most part. That's Mike Montesi. He caught her in the left front. They both made some contact. The 98 nearly spun it out, avoiding them, Stephen Herring. And I believe that they were good at that point. It was Dakota Bowman, I believe, who saw that trouble in front of him, got on the brakes on quarter entry down into 3, and again, for the second time tonight, the 59 car just goes dead sideways. He comes to a stop at about a 90-degree angle in the middle of the racetrack, and that is what attributed to that caution flag, I would anticipate. Leaders back down pit road, led by David Comstock. They faked out E.J. O'Rourke last time. Let's see if the 23, who took 4 tires on that exchange, possibly goes for 2 this time. He pulls into his number 1 pit stall, well behind the guy that let him all down, the 28 Comstock. He's back on that number 3 stall. 20 car rolls off. E.J. O'Rourke takes 2 as I predicted. He'll go off 3rd. Dan Murray going to maintain P2 with that 4-tire call. As he's able to go off, that'll put him on the outside of that front row. But DJ O'Rourke is going to gain about 13 positions in that exchange after, again, being faked out by the whole field in 2nd spot. Takes a 2-tire call, and we'll have to see how that works out. It was an 8.7-second stop for the driver of that number 23 car. So he'll be up back onto a podium spot. We're working under a caution flag on lap 63. You're watching the Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series. Get a step away for another break, and more racing from the Iowa Speedway coming up on the other side. Back live, green flag fresh in the air, and our race leader, driver of the number 20, David Comstock, is through and clear. Move E.J. O'Rourke, who took the 2 tires to get that track position back. He now gets up to the number 2 position after making that pass on the inside of the 55 of Dan Murray. Murray's going to slide back to 3rd, 4th to the 11, and it is a battle for P5 advantage. That time at the strike barely to Thomas J. George. He had it by just about 1/100th of a second. Brian Macklin trying to work on the bottom lane there. Can't get clear, no spot in line as the 11 and the 29 working that high side, only separated by about half a Still working under green flag conditions from the Iowa Speedway with Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series live on LSRTV. It is David Comstock who's been able to put the Monster Energy Chevrolet on point after starting in the top 3 spot. He leads right now by about 0.8 of a second over a side-by-side battle about earlier on. That is since single filed out, and I think for the first moment all race long we do have a split moment here where everybody has single filed things out and they set their eyes on possibly a long green flag run just about 2 laps past the halfway point in tonight's event, currently working lap 79. For race leader David Comstock, out of 150 laps, we sit with 25 out of the 30 cars that started this race on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap right now, the 77 of Sherry Ann Mills. That car working through with a little bit of back-end damage after getting caught up in an incident in quarter number 3. Got hit in the back end by the 3 of Jose Gonzalez after she got on the binders a little bit earlier than he was anticipating. She's about 13 seconds back from Comstock up front. The cars that are laps down right now, pretty much all behind the wall. Joshua Morgan, 26th, 27th, Doug Manning, Brian Harvey, 28th, 29th, John Wilco, and Scott Saunders in 30th position. All of those cars are at least behind the wall and out of this race for the time being. Challenge just outside the top 10, 60 of John Higman Jr. to the inside of Garrett Atwell. Nothing comes from that. He slides back in line, and now it's Stefan Marinak trying to make a move to the bottom on that 4 of Scott Simley. And that battle going on again just outside of the top 10, which has been one of the busiest places we've seen all night.
It has been busy. What did we do, Evan? I think we've said the word calamity about 8 times tonight. I mean,
if that was the
it's
word,
not just busy. It's it's chaotic.
And for a moment, again, this is like a sigh of relief almost. It changes the pace of the race for sure. And you come to expect it as well. The way these races typically go, you get a couple of yellows at the start, everybody gets spread out, and then not going to say that we're going to see it at all, but we typically see a little bit of a string of caution flags down at about that final 25 laps or so that really make things quite interesting. But I think E.J. O'Rourke did a smart call by making 2 tires on that last cycle through. We took 4 when he was faked out, and just as we talked about green flag runs, the knock it on the wood did not help. We got a spinner. It looks like the 31's around. Caution's out.
I think we're up to what, Evan? 8 now? Something like that.
Well, we're mixing it up, which you got to give him credit for, because this spin
was
in
credit.
quarter number 1 as opposed to 4, so we're keeping it fresh.
Keeping it fresh somehow, but either way, it's still under caution flag once again. And can we explain that Monster Energy is just again out front? I mean, David Comstock. Hello. Are we surprised, Evan? I'm not.
And he showed up just at the start of the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series chase, and has pretty much been a front runner. So, can we consider that 20 car a regular now that he leads us down pit road?
Well, I mean, why not, Evan? He's as close to a regular as anybody, and he's going to have that long trek all the way down to the other end of pit road. Let's follow him and some of the other leaders here, but he'll be making his way to his pit stall, and I would anticipate 4 tires and fuel.
43 of Doug Roth has stayed out, so the 43 going to get a bonus point for leading a lap. He stayed out after running about 18th position, covering the stop-still. Comstock leads them down pit road. He has the number 3 stall down on pit road. The 23 actually has a long time to get those right side tires getting up on the jack. Quite a delay. So it looks like it may be a slow stop for O'Rourke. Comstock leads us off. Cadell Murray is going to be able to get 4th, I think, via that number 1 stall. Able to edge that one out over Brian Macklin, so he actually gains a spot. For some reason, it looked like that crew was taking its time getting the jack up underneath the right side of that machine, but I do believe he will slide up to P4. This all including that Doug Roth did stay out. He will duck back down pit road right now, which means that EJ O'Rourke's could end up where he was sitting before that, just swamping out a spot with that number 30 car. But it's not the first time we've seen somebody back at a pack stay out, try to get that bonus point, bring them back down. And then obviously we're going to see Doug Roth, who had a really good run last week at Michigan. Not quite the result that I think we thought could have been possible for the 43, but definitely was showing a lot of good stuff. And was trying to follow that up with a good one here, running just about, again, around that 20th position or so, inside the top 20, 18th. He comes back down 4 tires out and away, but we'll get that bonus point to add to his season championship totals, which, again, with only an 8-race season, that could be the difference between a couple of spots and points.
Yeah, it could be. And as we sit under still this caution flag with 85 working, lap number 86 complete, I'm looking at a guy who's actually fallen back a little bit. He slid all the way back to the 10th position, and that's the 29 of Thomas George. Expected him to be a little bit better here during this second half, Evan, and he's really fallen back right now in that Gamers Trucking entry.
Yeah, I think we have to call EJ O'Rourke quite lucky, despite the fact that he got faked out, because the caution flew at a point where he was able to take 2 tires, make some ground back up. On the count of that 29 car, he's back up to where he started this race again, Jacob. It was a top 10 car, spun at the very start, went all the way to the back, and he's been able to get back to where he started this race. And I know we've talked to him a couple of times. I was rather frustrated with the way that all went down at the start of it, but now that he's back up to where he was, we'll see what that 29 really has, although he is working a little bit of left rear damage on that to keep into fact as well. The 00 of L. Bryce Whitson Jr., still our hard charger right now, P7, after starting back in 22nd position. So give him a good increase, about 15 positions so far in this race, and again, just a little bit under halfway still to go.
You got to give Bryce a lot of credit. He's had a tough couple of weeks, Evan, on the family side of things, and just to see him running well tonight. He's had a good bit to race for these last 2 or 3 weeks, and doing a really admirable job right now, running in the top 7 and looking pretty competitive for this race here, and maybe get some attrition here in the final couple laps, make something happen.
And the lights going off on top of the pace car, so the 20, again, going to be in control of this field. David Comstock, always a threat when you get that Monster Energy machine anywhere within striking distance of the lead spot. And once he gets out into clean air, it's hard to catch him, especially at a racetrack like Iowa, where we've heard the drivers say all night long that passing does not come in abundance. It's rather hard to do. You really got to work for it with kind of a multi-groove racetrack, top lane being the preferred, but the bottom can get the job done right off of these initial starts with fresh tires, which is what we're going to be working with. So I'm going to keep an eye on Dan Murray to see if he's able to get a jump. Didn't quite get the job done last time on that car that's going to be starting outside of the front row, being that 11 of Jonathan Cadell, but we're going to have to see how this one shakes out. Pace car takes a sharp left-hand turn down at a quarter number 4, 20 car in control. He is on the way, green flag back in the air, and Dan Murray's going to be able to get that spot. We'll be door-to-door for that second position.
Yeah, and I'm looking way back in the field. They're almost 3 wide, back around the 24, Stefan Marinak. 4 of Scott Simley, uncontacted, and Marinak's around. Sideways, caution flag flies, hold it down, and he does not hit anything, but he had some serious help, I think, from the 4 of Scott Simley right there. And out of 11, the 24 of Stefan Marinak spins it on the back straightaway, keeps it off the wall, but we are under yellow here, completing lap number 89.
Your replay going up now. The 19 just can't keep off of people, and not at all fault of his own, but the 24 got loose, and you see he had to kind of step it up the hill and just came right up in front of the 19 car. That machine already working some damage, being the Garrett Atwell Chevrolet, so not much more damage being done on the front end of that, but the 24 car goes around, keeps it off the inside wall, and the trend continues because we had another car wrecking behind them. The 60 of John Hickman Jr. was in a 3-wide battle, didn't even see the wreck going on in front of him. He had a self-spin coming through the corner on the high side of that 3-wide action, backed it into the fence a little bit, got some front-end damage as well. So once again, simultaneous incidents that time through quarter number 2. Majority of our leaders stay out. First cars coming down pit road, just about P22 on back. They were led by Sherry Ann Mills, who was in 21st position. So a handful of them coming for the back, but other than that, our leaders again were just down. They just took 4 tires, so they will all stay out. And the only swap we'll see is Dan Murray will trade spots with the 11 at Cadell. He'll go to second. The 11 draws back to third.
And coming to complete 91, let's step aside for a second here, and back we'll have more action from the Iowa Speedway, and maybe try, I don't know that we're going to go green to the end, but we'll give it a shot. Here from the heartland of America, it's the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series on LSRTV. Welcome back to Iowa Speedway, the heartland of America, where we are not quite broadcasting from a cornfield, but if we think hard enough, we might go see one in the distance after we're done here. It's the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series, all the way through to Speed Weeks. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Eric's up here in the broadcast booth, and getting ready to go back to green flag racing with 56 laps to go when we get the green flag. David Comstock, the leader. Dan Murray up to second. Jonathan Cadell rides third. Brian Macklin has fought his way back to fourth, and E.J. O'Rourke fifth. Bobby Terrell, Thomas George, Bryce Whitson Jr., Dwayne Vincent, William Kemp. The rest of the top 10, we get set for another American Ethanol green flag restart. Pace car dives to pit road, flies in the air, and they're trying to go 3 wide on the restart. I believe that was the 23, actually, of E.J. O'Rourke. I thought was going to make a sweep and inside, thought better of it. Now they're 3 wide up the middle, Brian Macklin.
it worked out that that 30 slid back because there was no more room for him once they got out of 2. 55 and 11 just about came on each other's doors, and the 30 kind of got shuffled out there. Now to the high side he goes as Jonathan Cadell going the wrong direction down low. He'll lose 1 spot to the 30. Challenges back as the 23 of EJ O'Rourke goes high. O'Rourke with the GaryMercer.com Chevrolet entry up high. Huge run off the corner, almost scrapes the wall. The 11 going the wrong direction on the bottom, and he now slides in line right up in front of that 94. That's Bobby Terrell.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, and Terrell right now is lodged in a little bit of a log jam here. Down to 6th, 7th place. Oh, Terrell going around sideways. Oh, hard contact. The 29 up and almost over. He's barrel rolling into turn number 2. Caution flag flies. 97 going in. And a wild ride out an 8-car pileup by the time it's all said and done. But Thomas J. George about 7 times barrel rolls. Caution flag, oh my.
That escalated quickly.
Can we get another look at that?
And for a short track race, you don't typically expect the, as the replay goes up now, you don't typically expect the 29 car to be up and rolling, but the 94 just got hit. And Bobby Terrell not happy with the way that went down. He's expressing his displeasure with the 29, and it's one of those instances we saw earlier where the guy in the middle there is, you know, kind of forced into a situation. When does the guy in front of me get a break? I can't short break almost because I'm going to get run over from behind, and he got into Terrell, and it was from behind him, the 00, that ushered him the rest of the way around. Del Bryce Whitson Jr., and from there was nowhere to go. The 29 up and over. Terrell was actually relatively fine in that one. Spun around, did get clipped by the 19 of Atwell on the bottom, and then 3-4 seconds later, boom, the 60 right into the door. That's John Higman Jr. causing heavy damage on the 94 car, and slow him down once again after a big mess, that time in 3 and 4.
Yeah, big mess. Oh my. Evan, the birds are whispering in my ear, and I think our executive producer Laura Lawson just said it. So, we're done with Calamity Corner in turn 4. It's just the whole racetrack at this point.
I said they were keeping it fresh, but it wasn't an invitation to go and cause a Talladega-style pile-up in the corner. That's ended up what happened from that after big junk. Again, we had a couple guys go up and over on that one, and a lot of fast cars as well that we had seen up front throughout the race going to be severely torn up in that. A lot of innocent guys going to be caught up. I know the 19 got some more damage. That's not the first time that he got caught up in somebody else's mess, and unfortunately the 29 car who was just marching back up through the field, Jacob, involved.
Yeah, we've caught up with him down here, Thomas George. Thankfully, it's a sim, so we don't necessarily have to ask if you're okay, but that may be the wildest ride I've seen out of you since coming to RSR to be a part of this. About 5 times over in turn number 2. You don't see that at a short track like this. What happened?
Pretty much was trying to slow down for the 94. Wasn't trying to get in him. The old 00 car just decided, you know, keep on going, and for whatever reason doesn't know what the hell a damn brake is. You know, I feel bad for what happened to the 94. I don't know. I just ticked off.
Long night. You had a top 5 car, not that you want to end it, but still some time left, and I guess it's not a lot of solace, but you weren't the only one taken out in this, so not as bad as it could have been, I suppose, but still takes you out of this one. So I guess in any case, we'll see you up here with us next week. You not able to run next week, so gonna be invading the LSRTV booth. We'll have a little bit more fun up here next week than you had tonight.
I look forward to it. It'd be nice to not have to race with some idiots out there. Now, like I said, I know I'm gonna probably regret saying that later, but it's just this track is so close. You gotta give, and well, I gave as much as I could. It just sucks, but we'll have fun in Atlanta. We'll see, hopefully, another wild finish there next week.
And that's Thomas George. Evan, tough week for him. And of all the chaos, I think Bobby Terrell may actually still be on the racetrack. Seeing him cycle through on the leaderboard 21st right now. So the 94 survives. The rest of those involved not quite lucky, and this is going to make life interesting. He's going to be a man possessed on this restart coming from about row 11.
He got hit right in the door, so, I mean, the engine was clear, not going to get any engine damage from that. It is going to affect the car a little bit, but he got out better than it could have been, and he also, you know, got out worse than it could have been because it was pretty much fine besides a little bit of contact, and it was those guys behind him that were trying to navigate through the smoke that really had nowhere to go and ended up piling into that one secondarily.
Pace car goes back to pit road, and the American Ethanol green flag going in the air, and a big jump by David Comstock. Brian Macklin coming right with him in the 30. Those are going to be your top two. Dan Murray getting shuffled back. Jonathan Cadell going for fourth. In turn number 1 with E.J. O'Rourke in the top. He single file off to Macklin chasing the lead.
Fighting for it up on the high side, and while he did that, he left the bottom wide open. Dan Murray trying to take advantage of that, goes down low, slides up to the door of that 30, coming off the quarter, no challenge quite yet, is able to keep half a car like the bobble, steps it up the hill sideways, still trying to recover, hanging on to it, but it'll lose a bunch of spots. The 00 checks up, and that allows Dwayne Vincent to get right behind them. They're going to lose some time, but another good save by that 55.
Yeah, how many times have we seen the 55 of Dan Murray loose tonight, Evan? That car has been a wreck waiting to happen, and it's just never happened.
He's been a lot more sideways than he's wanted. It's led to a couple of saves, but I'm pretty sure he'd like to keep that thing pointed forward and moving forward on the racetrack.
Yeah, he would. But right now, we got one car moving forward, and Eric Grundy's, I want to bring you back in on this. It's, oh, well, your teammate just got sideways trying to keep the lead. The 20 at David Comstock, but that 30 of Brian Macklin right there behind him. Those two are getting ready, I think, to put on a pretty good battle. They've looked pretty evenly matched here for a while. Think we're going to see a show before it's over?
It's looking that way. I think David might have met his match out here. 30 car looks really fast, and you know, he's getting off the corners really well. So I'm really looking forward to watching this, and it's going to be a good battle.
How about the 23 of E.J. O'Rourke? Ryan again on the 30 of Macklin to get that second spot, and O'Rourke nearly tags the fence off turn 2. Macklin to the inside and coming to 43 laps to go. Still a good bit of time, about a third of this race, but these guys, Evan, it's crunch time now. They're starting to go. And O'Rourke to the inside, looking for P2, can't do it.
He took a look to the inside, had the positioning, and again, just unable to get back to the gas that time. Walks it up the hill a little bit, slots back in line behind the 30. You see, takes a really wide entry that time through 3, and now covered at a quarter number 4. Too high, it's got to back it off for the fence. The 11 with a huge run, and looked high, and there was no room down to the bottom. The 55 is the one that's not going to lift, and Dan Murray going to go with the 00 now, 3 wide, now in 1 and 2. Cadell going to get clear up high. That's going to go side by side, and now Bryce Whitson Jr. going to be able to get that spot over Dan Murray. So the 55, who took a gamble trying to capitalize on that bobble from the 11 car, is actually going to lose a handful of spots in that exchange because Dwayne Vincent had the advantage on him as well at the stripe. That now for P6.
That was, I don't know how else to say this, Evan, but that was ballsy by the 00. I mean, Whitson just stuffed it in there and found a lane to make it stick.
And it's not the first time tonight that we've also seen that 00 in the middle of a 3-wide mix. And although he's really been, trying to check up, I know we saw that checkup coming at a 2 not too long ago, just a handful of laps ago. Backed out of it, cost him some time. The 00 is being conservatively aggressive, if that's any way to put it, because he has been a lot of 3-wide action. He was on the inside of that 11, which made him the middle car as Dan Murray was down on the bottom. He was able to complete that pass, followed Cadell through. Now he wants to set his sights on that 11. for P4. But again, this 00, the biggest mover so far in the race, up nearly 17 positions from where he started this one, and looking pretty strong, about evenly matched there with our leaders. Don't really want to say it's surprising because we know Bryce had it in him after what was a solid start to the race at Michigan, but he was 22nd in fastest rather in practice, and also 22nd fastest in qualifying. So, you know, qualified rate where in theory he should have based on practice speeds, but looking real good in race trim right now.
Yeah, he's looking really good and trying to make it a 4-car battle for the lead if he can get around Jonathan Cadell. I think he's faster than that 11, but just kind of, he's there for the moment, but just can't quite make the move, and he's running out of time. 37 laps to go, so the circuits are quickly cooling down in this one, and the battle for the lead, David Comstock, Brian Macklin, and E.J. O'Rourke. Seems like it's been like virtually all night, Evan. And Macklin, I'm not convinced that that 30 car is done with trying to take the lead away. That car has looked really good during the later portions of these green flag runs, and I think that 30 just might have a little bit left, especially if he can make himself a hole.
Well, he's slowly making up some time on Comstock, and at the same time, the 23 behind him of E.J. O'Rourke has been all over his back bumper, and O'Rourke had a great run that last time at a 2. He has another run at a 4. The only problem is he wants to get to the high side. He does not want to try to make that pass down low. You see, he tried to go high. There was no room. That time, really backed up the corner, entered very high, and got the run out of 4, but he wants to be able to get to the high lane. He's had the opportunity to go down low if he wished, but really just trying to see if that preferred lane opens up for him. He sits in line right now, almost possibly giving him an opportunity to save something. 31 bobble, 2, 3, 4 wiggles, 30 hanging on to it as Brian Macklin nearly turned that thing into fence. He keeps it pointed forward. 23's done waiting to the bottom. That hole nearly closed. He's got to check up.
You don't think E.J. O'Rourke's a little bit antsy now, do you?
Let's say he realizes that they were coming down just a couple laps short of 30 to go, and he realizes it's go time at this point.
Yeah, we were riding on board with him just a few seconds ago when that 23 machine, I mean, just in the wheel, as was the 30 right there to keep it out of the fence. That was about as dicey as it gets, trying to fight for second. And now O'Rourke looks to the inside again, and maybe Macklin going to give it to him right here. No, coming back on the high lane. They're wheel-to-wheel off 4, advantage 30.
And that's what he had to do. He tried to almost pull a slide job, tried to slide up in front. That wasn't there, had back out of it, and that machine, because you entered low, pushed so far up like the 11 car did. Cadell to the bottom, slides up. He's
in the wall. Yeah, the 23 made some solid contact with it. That allowed the 9 of Dwayne Vincent to get by, the 00 of L. Bryce Whitson Jr., the 55 of Dan Murray. So trying to look and see, doesn't look like there's a lot of damage. I really can't see any damage to that 23, and Murray's trying to go around. Yikes, and he saves it again.
Man, oh man, that 55 once again, and it's the cars on the inside this last run that are just pushing so far up the hill. They're spinning off of the doors of the cars that are up alongside them on the high lane. 55 hangs on. He'll maintain a P9 running spot as William Kemp is the last car that was able to take advantage of him there. Stefan Marinak just behind him in 10th position, actually working on holding off a charging number 21 of Matt Lacrosse. But the side-by-side up inside the top 10, it is the 00 L. Bryce Whitson Jr. He's battling with the 9 of Dwayne Vincent and the 19 machine as well, and that makes that car is a lap down, I would think, at this point. Garrett Atwell, he is 1 lap down, so he would be able to get a wave around lucky dog position if we were to get a caution, because the next car closest to him is 9 laps back, so that car going to be banking on a late race yellow here to get back into contention.
He's going to be banking on one. I'm not sure he's going to get it. These guys are finally stretched out for a change, and I'm going to knock on some wood here in a second, but Brian Macklin within a couple of thousandths of a second of the 20 of David Comstock lap for lap. Jonathan Cadell and L. Bryce Whitson Jr. are up there now, all within a second of this battle for the lead. And like I said, I just feel, I get the feeling that 30's holding back, just waiting. I mean, 27 laps to go. If you're in second, Evan, it's still too early to make your move because the other guy can easily get you back right here. And Brian Macklin does not want that to happen. He's looking to the outside for the lead.
And he's in the fence. 20 car slid high. The 30 wasn't there, but he had to try to make a move to the outside. He looked low a couple times, didn't work. It's very hard to stick that car up high and obviously make that maneuver from being down on the lane that 20 was, almost turning that wheel a little bit to the right, stepping it up the hill, and still being able to make that corner, especially on how hard we've seen the passing and how hard it has been to be able to get the preferred lane up high. He's trying to do it, caught the fence a little bit, didn't hurt him except for in track position, slid back. Now he's already up within 2 car lengths of that 20 machine, digging it. Now he's showing what he's got. Jacob trying to fight for it. Comstock, though, really has to worry about protecting that preferred lane up high, because that's what the 30 car is shooting for.
Yeah, and I mean, they're within 5 or 6 1/1000ths of a second of each other every lap. That's how evenly matched the 20 and the 30 are. The best battle's going to be right behind them for third. L. Bryce Whitson Jr.'s knocking all over the rear deck lid of the 11 of Jonathan Cadell, and Cadell was almost sideways in turns 3 and 4 last time by. L. Bryce Whitson to the inside now, trying to go for that third position. Not quite going to get it at the line. They make a little bit of contact in turn 1, and advantage Cadell, I think, that high lane momentum.
Yeah, the 00 wants the high side, but he went down low and arced it a little bit late, got into the left rear of that 11 car, and he'll slide back to P4 right now, but it's all going to be about trying to set that car up in front of you so that you got to time your run, really back up the corner, and be able to stick that nose out to the outside and either A, make it stick, or B, not get put in the fence by that car trying to shut that preferred lane off from you. You see he gets the run. Hesitant, though, to go to the bottom because it's just not going to work it out. We've seen a couple guys trying it. Both of them nearly ended up in the fence.
They both nearly ended up fenced here, and now we are down, Evan, to 22 laps to go. Is it go time now?
I think we saw when the 30 machine was battling, along with that 23 of EJ O'Rourke, that it was go time about 10 laps ago. Once we got down to 30 to go, these guys have realized that if there's any more yellows at this point, you really got to work with the track position that you've gotten yourself up to this point, and it's time to go. The 00 going to try the inside once again, just about half a car length up off the yellow line. You see he's able to get the advantage. Coming off the quarter, actually does a great job of hanging with that 11 car. Don't count him out yet. It looks like Cadell's going to get it half a car length lead down into 3, but that 00 needs to be able to get clear so he can get back up high, and he'll do it. The 11 car, not a good run through 3 and 4, and move L. Bryce Whitson Jr. up to a podium spot, P3 for him. Vincent up the 4th as well, trying to clear that 11 as well.
And while that battle's going on, Evan, getting a chance to catch up the headsets here with one of the guys who was involved in one of those cautions that really changed the complexion of this race. I know we've only got 19 or so laps to go, but just wanted to catch up with Bobby Terrell really quick. Bobby, you were involved in that big crash that we saw take out the 29, and about 8 cars behind you that got collected in it. What happened?
Thomas just ran over me. That's all you can say. The guy, I seen him racing the upper series, and he had caused incidents in there, and I just you can't race with the guy. Basically, that's the way I look at it.
It was a tough night because I know you had a top 3 to a top 5 car. Did you think if you could have gotten the right brakes here in the closing laps, gotten maybe back on that inside lane, that you could have contended with maybe the 20 and the 30 here in the closing laps?
Oh yeah, I think you know me. I was just taking care of my stuff, just taking my time. I just needed a long run, and if I could have got a long run, I think I could have got those guys, because I felt like easily a top 5 guy. And that's what upsets me. He didn't even run the first race. He's not even in the championship, and he's driving like there's no tomorrow. I just don't get it.
It's a tough break, and we hate seeing the Muscle Milk Chevrolet wadded up, but Bobby, we will see you back, I know, next Monday night. See if you can't pick up a win here before this Icebreaker Series goes out.
That's what I'm going to try to do, guys. I appreciate it.
Evan, we're down to 15 laps to go now.
And they're starting to get a little bit more spread out at the front of the field. Brian Macklin challenged a couple of times. He was, or at least appeared to be content with riding around in second. Started to make some moves, and after about 2-3 botched attempts at that and some contact with the fence that he nearly got again that time at a quarter number 2, they worked lap 136 of 150 right now. that gap has grown to just about over half of a second. The next time by, we're going to get an update on that interval right here at the start-finish line. The gap going to be 0.58 of a second between them. So Comstock, check it out in the latter stages. This race, though, still not guaranteed. A late race caution could possibly fly. And then again, I have to keep in mind that once we get to that 4 to go point, Comstock essentially home free unless he doesn't get in any issues, because a caution would end this race under a yellow flag condition. The 30's in the fence again.
Yeah, I think Brian Macklin has about driven the wheels literally off of that FedEx entry. He's tried everything he can to catch that Monster Energy Chevrolet of Comstock, and I just think he's used everything he's got up. Eric, I don't know what it looks like from your point of view. I know eventually when you guys hit this cliff, it just, the car literally falls over the edge and there's nothing you can do at that point.
Yeah, it's a real helpless feeling, let me tell you. Unfortunately for the 30, it looks like his only hope will be to get a quick yellow here and then hopefully get a good restart. Hope the 20 misses the restart or something. But yeah, it's not a good feeling at all. I've been there many times.
So David Comstock coming to 11 laps to go right now. He's looked very, very dominant tonight, Evan. He's had a great race car, not that we're surprised. The Stroke Races team, they won the Teams Championship, the Full Throttle Cup Series this year, and they look ever so dominant again here in the Icebreaker Series. But just as I start to say that it's done, Macklin cut into it a tenth a lap ago. I don't know. He's a little bit faster again that time by, but I just don't think he's got enough in that car here. Now, with officially 10 laps to go to do anything, and he's going to have to hold off Bryce Whitson Jr. here in the final laps, too. That 00's coming hard.
Yeah, I think that if this thing goes under caution flag, or even if we stay green, it's the 00 that you have to look at as a person that may be the challenger at any sort of position swap. We are side-by-side, back-to-back battle for 14th position, occupied right now by the 43 of Doug Roth, and it's wanted by the 95 of Ralph Nolan Jr. To the bottom, they got door-to-door that time in 3 and 4, and then Doug Roth was able to pull just about clear down the front straightaway. The 95 is being forced to work with that inside line, and just not comparable to the high side. You see the run that Roth gets off the quarter will remain clear. 95 still trying to make the bottom work. He could lose a spot in this exchange. Mike Montesi just behind him. So these three cars do get it out for 14th through 16th positions as they run back at the back. But I mean, David Comstock, although he is losing just about a hundredth or even thousandth of a second per lap, I think that he's a lot more consistent speed than that number 30 machine, because Brian Macklin, almost the identical lap time that last time through. Comstock a tad quicker. I think you got to keep an eye, though, that 00 could very easily get this number 2 position. Well, not very easily get it, but could very easily get himself into a position to at least challenge for it. What happens after that point is the big question.
Exactly right. And Bryce Whitson Jr., I think this is the most complete a race that I've seen him put together since I came on to the RSR broadcast crew back in late April, early May, Evan, because that 00, I mean, every race we've seen him in, he's been good for a little while, but then either something's happened or he's struggled, and tonight he's just put the whole package together. He's been scarily consistent, and he has just been right there knocking on the door all night long. It's about 2 car lengths between he and Macklin per second. As we cross the line right there, there's just 5 laps to go. David Comstock, the leader down the back straight away, and back through the top 5, really no battles. Everybody's kind of settled in here to the finish, except for Dan Murray, Scott Simley, Stephen Marinac, the 4, the 55, the 24.
And that battle rages on at a 4. The 24 ducks in line behind the 4. So I said 4 about 3 times there in 2 seconds. But he ducks back in line. They're single file for now. This battle just inside the tail end of the top 10 right now. But Bryce Whitson, you could compare him to a Chad Cole of other leagues. I've seen him do a lot of domination in some of the other series that I've had the opportunity to watch him. He raced with Gary Whitson as well. Had the opportunity to watch those 2 guys race this past year, and the 00 took home quite a few different championships in quite a few different cars, trucks, the B cars, the Gen 6 machines as well. So no surprise that he's fast. Good to see him get the RSR success and make a statement here tonight. He's not done. Give it up for a second, but it is going to be 2 to go this time by. 20 car goes around the 77, no issue, and just under 2 miles as well to the checkered flag now.
Yeah, it's about 1.5 miles from the point they got to the middle of turn number 1, and we'll carry you right through to the checkered flag now, because this battle raging on for second. But ahead of them, it's going to be a flag of surrender, the white flag, going in the air for David Comstock as he crosses the stripe. He'll see that white silk go in the air and just have 7/8 of a mile to go to victory lane.
And he's pulled over a second now. Doesn't look like Bryce is going to be able to challenge unless he really makes an aggressive move down to the bottom. It's about half a car length between second and third, but it's all Comstock.
Yeah, it is. Coming off turn number 4. It's going to be his second career RSR Series victory. First, though, in the icebreaker, David Comstock going to victory lane tonight at Iowa. He got the win at Loudon, New Hampshire in the Full Throttle Cup Series during the chase in just his second career RSR start. Now he tacks another one on in just his 12th start. He wins it here in the heartland of America, 150 laps in the books, and the Monster Energy Chevrolet is victorious here tonight in the Get to Know Newton 150. Comstock, your winner. Brian Macklin, second. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., that podium spot in third. Dwayne Vincent, E.J. O'Rourke, the top 5, followed by Dan Murray, Jonathan Cadell, Scott Zimley, Stefan Marinac, Matt Lacrosse as the Monster Chevrolet, and Comstock, he's burning it down on the front straightaway.
Macklin and Whitson congratulate each other after a hard-fought battle that went on for second and third. The 00 was unable to really get a nose on Macklin, but a great run by that number 30 FedEx entry to be able to come home in second. And again, you can't say enough of that 00, Jacob. 19 positions in the positive when it's all said and done. E.J. O'Rourke was able to recover after pretty much being ushered into the fence. He'll get a top 5 out of it. I know that he probably wanted and may have expected more than that, but he's able to do rather salvage a decent result out of it after being our pole sitter and one of the dominant cars here tonight as well. But once that 20 car was able to get to the lead there, just shy of halfway, never looked back.
No, he didn't. Eric Rundies, your teammate, gets the trophy. He looked good all night long, and I don't think anybody's really surprised by that. And the Polish victory lap, why not?
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. David's a great driver, and he's had some chances to win, more races than he has, here in RSR, and so it was really good to see him, finish the deal tonight and get one. So.
Stops on the start-finish line to pick up the checkered flag. He'll start the celebration. We'll head to a break, and when we come back, it's going to be the Gary Mercer Trucking post-race show where we'll hear from your podium finishers and wrap up the night here from Iowa Speedway. It's LSRTV and the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series. We are back live here from Iowa Speedway. Time for the American Ethanol and Gary Mercer Trucking post-race show tonight as we get set to wrap up a wild get-to-know Newton 150 from the Iowa Speedway. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, and Eric Brundys have been up here in the LSR broadcast booth all night long, taking in the action and calling the action for round 2 of the Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Real Sim Racing. And what a night. It was interesting. Evan, I'm going to get ready to climb down to pit road, talk to some of our top finishers, but it was a bizarre race in the first half, but it really settled out into a lot of green flag racing and a good racing in the second half.
Yeah, you said that the Iowa Speedway is a short track that races like like a speedway, like a super speedway. Well, they wrecked like it at some points. We had a lot of big incidents. We also saw a lot of guys just struggling with the handling. A lot of people on the bottom pushing up the hill, stepping up the hill. A lot of self spins in corners 4, corners 2. If you survived that first, opening half of the race, I think you had a legitimate shot at it. We saw a lot of our front runners have some problems, but at the end of the day, I think it was the best cars that were eventually able to get back up to those top spots. But you're gone down with our third place finisher, positive 19 spots on the speed charts there at the end of it. P3 for L. Bryce Woodson Jr.
Yeah, and what a night for you, Bryce. I mean, impressive drive. It's the most complete race that I've seen you put together in my entire time with RSR this year. Just looked like you had a really great car, survived some of the attrition, and bring it home on the podium. And I know after the way the last couple weeks been for you, this has got to be a real positive thing to take away from it.
Oh, it definitely is, Jacob. We've come to a lot of these races with a good car, and being able to drive up through the field and just gotten involved in other people's messes, and it felt good to actually get up there and be able to race a little bit for the lead. I thought maybe I could catch Brian and David there in the last few laps, but it just wasn't going to be.
You took a look inside a couple of times. I know it looked like you really wanted to use that high lane there. What was the difference between you and Brian there in those last couple of laps?
I think the real difference between Brian and I was a little bit of right front damage. I bounced it off the wall twice coming through the field. I still had about 20 or 30 seconds of damage on that right front. I just couldn't get back to the gas like I wanted to and turn it off the corner, especially off 4.
So obviously a positive result for you tonight. Take a little bit of momentum away from this into next week's race in action. Does it re-bolster the confidence a little bit? I know we talk about momentum being a funny thing a lot of times up here in the booth, but it really does kind of get you back in the swing of things after a tough year for you on this RSR side. Not a lot of things going right, and now at least starting off this Icebreaker series with some pretty good momentum.
Oh, definitely. Momentum helped a lot. It gives you a lot more confidence going into the next race. I think the biggest thing that I need to improve on right now is getting a better qualifying spot. I've been a horrible qualifier in any series I run, and I just do really well in the race and can figure out a way to get up through there. So if I can get a good spot up front for a start, I'll be in good shape, I think.
Well, before we let you go, Bryce, through shout-outs. I know you can't do this by yourself, so who makes it happen for you in the Double O team?
Tell you what, first off, I always have to thank my wife. She's the one who lets me do this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, every day of the week just about. But also tonight I want to thank Dunder Mifflin because they are the best paper company out there.
Certainly, the supporters make it happen, Bryce. Podium result. I think it's the first time since I joined the crew in May that I've gotten to say that. So, congratulations. Glad to get you down here, and looking forward to seeing what you can do next week.
Thank you much, Jacob. Look forward to it.
Evan, that's it for our third place finisher, L. Bryce Woodson Jr., but I'll throw it down to you on the other end of pit road where you've caught up with the driver of the FedEx number 30. Had a good car for a while, but that's Brian Macklin.
I think we can refer to him as Jacob's pick because you felt like they was going to be able to get this machine to victory lane. You put up a good effort there down in the final 30, then 20 laps. It just started to slowly reach out of his grasp, and it's going to be a P2 result for Brian Macklin in that number 30 car. Brian started a top 5. You finished a top 5. It's going to be a P2 result for you and the team tonight. A lot of torn up sheet metal happening in that first half of the race. How key was it to get that qualifying and that track position to just, be out in front of it, not even have to worry about that?
Track position at a short track is always key. You got to be able to stay up front. We fought a hard race because I made a mistake as a driver on one of the restarts and nearly wrecked the car and lost a lot. So we'll get caught up in some issues and we can gain some points on them. It's not going to be easy though. There's a lot of really competitive guys in here with Dwayne and David and EJ and a host of others. So we're just going to go out there, try as hard as we can to win every race and let the points fall where they fall.
It was a 30th 1 week ago for you at Michigan. You recover for a P2 tonight, again, starting in the negative, which is something that you never want to do, but rolling up to the first of many 1.5 intermediate tracks on the year. It's going to be the Atlanta Motor Speedway. That racetrack, always hot and slick. Your thoughts going into that one?
Atlanta's never been one of my best tracks, so we're going to just have to go out there and try to get the best that we can. I do enjoy running there, but it's not going to be an easy race for us, I don't think. I would love to go out there and try to win the race. Like I said, that's going to be our goal every week. We're going to take some chances with strategy and whatever we've got to do to try to get up there and win the race. I'm in a hole right now, so that's the only thing I really can do at this point. And as we get closer to the end of the season, I'll start looking more closely at the points and figuring out what I need to do.
Good way to bounce back for you. It's going to be a P2 tonight. Before we let you get back down to the crew here, sponsors and shoutouts, who makes this kind of a run possible for you in the 30?
Well, I got to thank everybody at Cody Bias Racing. There are some amazing teammates, EJ O'Rourke and David Comstock, and even Brendan Mercer in here on RSR. We're all teammates in here. And got to thank FedEx. I'm a big fan of Denny Hamlin, so I run their logo and try to support them the most that I can. I got to thank Gary Mercer Trucking, again with Brendan Mercer. He's been a big part of my sim racing career over the last few years. And then just everybody here at RSR for putting together this series and letting us race with them and putting on such an amazing show.
All right, Brian, well, thanks for taking a moment to talk to us again. Congratulations.
When David Comstock, the Monster Energy Chevrolet was brilliant when it counted tonight, and once you got out front, there was no touching you. How good was the car in the late race, and how tough was it getting to the lead there in the early laps tonight?
It was very tough getting to the lead. Clean air was absolute most important. I got a really good restart along with EJ, and the caution came out. We were side by side, and I happened to be ahead of EJ once the caution came out. And at that point, I just kept control of the race, kept control of the restarts. Pit crew guys kept getting really good stops for me, kept me out front. And that last run, it was just racing the racetrack and just making sure you protect your position, because, like I said, if you get behind another car or that clean air, it is really important. It gets all that downforce, and you can get on the gas a little bit earlier than the guys behind you.
This Iowa Speedway, because of the progressive banking, is a little chaotic. Because of the wear factor in the pavement, it's a little bit chaotic. You didn't see a whole lot of the 3 and 4 wide racing behind you tonight, but you said you were chasing the racetrack. How much of a variable was that for you and the Stroke Race team tonight?
It was free to start, especially off of turn 4. You'd run the bottom through 3 and 4 on the opening laps just to run your fastest laps and kind of create a gap on the guys behind you or whoever you were around. And as the tires wore out and everybody started closing in, it kind of a rubber band effect. It's hard to make a pass on the bottom in 3 and 4. 1 and 2, you have to run the bottom pretty much no matter what. That's the preferred groove. But if you can run the middle or the top around through 3 and 4, it makes it really challenging for the person behind you to make an attempt pass on the bottom.
Big win for you tonight. Like we said, second win in just 12 starts over here in RSR competitions. So a big night and big momentum now headed to next week at Atlanta. Another really abrasive track. And you're good on these intermediate tracks, David. So I have no reason to believe that we won't see you towards the front. But what's it going to take to be fast at Atlanta? Because that track really is a beast, unlike anything else that's on this iRacing service. A very, very tough track to tackle.
Absolutely. That track, the abrasion rate is very high. It's, if not one of the highest in the game, in the sim here. And track position will probably be a factor again, if not clean air as well. keep all that downforce on the car to keep the car planted so you're not sliding around, because once you start sliding around and you heat those tires up, it's really hard to gather the car back up and keep really consistent.
Well, it's going to be hard to be consistent next week. You were consistent tonight, David, and I know that's not possible by yourself. Want to give you a chance to thank the people and sponsors that help make this happen. Who makes it happen for David Comstock?
I would like to thank Cody Bias Racing and everybody who was here to support for not only myself, but for EJ Work and Brian Macklin. Brennan couldn't make it, unfortunately, but I could give a birthday shout out to him. He had a birthday earlier this week. And I would like to thank Adam Gilman, Justin Bolton, Jason Berg, those guys that are over here supporting us, helping all of us run tonight and giving us really good info to help us succeed tonight. I'd also like to thank Moss Energy and Gary Mercer Trucking for sponsoring us.
Well, David, second career win over here with the RSR crew, and it's a big one tonight at Iowa. Go celebrate with us. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
That's David Comstock. That's it here from Gatorade Victory Lane. Evan, it's a 1-2 for Cody Bias Racing, and from there, it was a bit of a show back there. El Bryce on the podium, and a little bit different top 10 than what we're used to.
Yeah, Dwayne Vincent was able to come home in 4th position. 5th would go to EJ O'Rourke again after recovering from being absolutely dangled on the entry to pit road. He actually had a good recovery, almost ended up in the fence, fought back. It's going to be a P5 for the 23 team. Dan Murray sliding back a little bit from where he saw him peak tonight. He gets 6th place. 7th was Jonathan Cadell. 8th, Scott Simley. Stefan Marinac with the top 10 result, and finishing right where he started. It was at 21 to Matt Lacrosse, who would round out our top 10.
Yeah, 11th tonight going to be the 22 of William Kemp, and 12th to Ronnie Potts. 13th was the Lowe's machine, Kevin Linden. 14th was the other FedEx machine. That's Ralph Nolan Jr. in 14th. Doug Roth, 15th. Mike Montesi coming home in 16th with Jose Gonzalez. The last car on the lead lap in 17th. The lap down, Stephen Herring in 18th. 19th to Wyatt Wolf. And rounding out that top 20, the 59 of one of our icebreaker rookies, Dakota Bowman.
Gary Ann Mills would come home in 21st, 22nd to Garrett Atwell. Thomas J. George being home in 23rd position after getting tangled up with the car that finishes right behind him in 24th position. Bobby Terrell. Those two cars would finish behind the wall and have different views on each other, which will be fun looking forward in the season. 25th spot for John Higman Jr., 26th to Joshua Morgan. Doug Manning, 27th, 28th to Brian Harvey. 29th, John Wilco, and Scott Saunders would round out our 30-car field.
Well, Eric Brundys, it's been a fun couple of weeks having you up here in the booth with us, and we won't see you next week for Atlanta. We'll give you a week off, get a chance to recharge here, but that's always an exciting race. We saw you run pretty strong in the Full Throttle Cup Series there earlier this season. I imagine that one going to be a pretty fun one to watch as well.
Yeah, it should be a blast. I just want to say thank you to you guys for having me up here, and I'll take a week or two off and maybe see you in a few weeks.
Evan, final thoughts from you. We saw chaos in the beginning that gave way to controlled mayhem towards the end, green flag running, and at the end of the night, the dominant car on the race did end up in victory lane.
As wild as it was, I think it's exactly what we predicted it to be. We thought it was going to be wild. That you can check that off the list. We had a couple cars barrel rolling at some points. We saw a lot of big incidents. We saw a couple of guys struggling with the handling. We saw the outside lane really come into effect there, as we predicted that to be where these guys were going to be running with that progressive banking, 12 at the bottom, 14 up higher, which turned out to be the place to be. And it came down to just about those final 20 laps there where Brian Macklin was really just hanging in there. And at the end, it was Comstock who was able to pull away enough to be able to secure that lead and that checkered flag by just about over a second. And not quite 4 wide that we saw at Michigan, but another solid one in the books. And it'll be always exciting looking forward to Hot Atlanta.
Gonna be fun. And until then, round 3 of the Icebreaker Winter Series will be from the Atlanta Motor Speedway a week from tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern right here on LSRTV. But for right now, for Evan Pasoko, Eric Brundys, and our executive producer Laura Lawson, and all the staff at Real Sim Racing, I'm Jacob Seelman, reminding all you race fans out there to keep it off the wall until we meet again. We'll see you next time on the web. Hotlanta next week. Until then, from the cornfields of Iowa, have a great night. So long, everybody.